to introduce Sunil. Sunil is the Director of Product and Ecosystem at Alphawallet. Alphawallet also recently launched the Alchemy NFT platform, as I mentioned earlier on, raising $6 million from Mark Cuban, Crypto.com Capital, and others. Sunil's been very involved with the emerging technology landscape, covered blockchain, big data, and AI, and has, as it says here, been involved in some key projects such as trade finance there too, in addition to his work at Alphawallet.
Thank you so much, Connor, for the great intro. Thank you all for joining this session and really to listen to my talk. Hope you all are doing really well, and I'm really excited to talk to you. I first of all want to thank EEA and Web3 Labs for this opportunity. I'm really excited that I'm even speaking at the same platform with a legend like Joe Lubin. So today I'll be sharing with you on how attestation technology can act as a bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 worlds, going through some of the examples that we have implemented at Alphawallet. Now, since I'm following up a very rich and enlightening chat with Joe Lubin, let me desperately try to grab some attention to my talk by bringing Vitalik into the conversation. Last month, in July, during the ETHCC conference in Paris, Vitalik pointed out that building out an attestation ecosystem as one of the important things that mattered beyond DeFi. He also mentioned that there are various enterprise Ethereum projects that use attestations. So I wanted to share some real-world examples of how we have used attestations so far, because we had been working on it for the last 4 years. I will share some examples from our journey, and will also share what's done and what could be possible in the future. So I will start with quickly talking about what attestation is, and then we will jump into 3 real-world use cases where we have used attestations to achieve some very remarkable things on blockchain, really pushing the limits of what's possible. We will finally wrap up with benefits of attestation and what could be in store for attestations in future. So a quick intro. So we are Alphawallet. We had been founded in 2017 and had been working with tokens or NFTs. We, as Joe mentioned earlier, we also have been calling it as just tokens. Only recently we are branding it all as NFTs because that's what we had been working on. So we had been pushing the frontiers of NFTs since 2017, but really our story started in 2015 when we, including the founders of Alphawallet, had been working with the largest financial institution in Australia, Commonwealth Bank, and their emerging technology team, looking at different use cases for blockchain, because it was 2015. The early adopters was really looking into what the technologies are possible. So we explored over 100 use cases, did experiments on more than 35 projects, and through these experiments, our founder and CTO, Weiwu Zhang, really came to this conclusion that there are many different hurdles towards mass adoption of real blockchain solutions. And we decided to focus on the user experience layer of things, really believing that tokens would be the linch points that would bring all the functionalities of blockchain and Web3 technology to a normal consumer users, and really set out to create intuitive ways to interact tokens by bringing utility to it, and also enabling developers to create those functionalities easily through a framework. So we call that framework as TokenScript. It's a JavaScript XML-based technology that allows developers to easily create token functionalities and render them in different places. So over the last few years, we had achieved some fascinating milestones, including arguably the very first sports-related NFT when we did FIFA World Cup tickets in 2018. We were also the very first wallet to natively support NFTs in
I'm not sure if that's frozen for me or if there's issues on Sunil's side.
Me too. Can't hear him.
Okay, cool. Hopefully he'll be back in a moment. Okay. Sunil, I can see you back on the video, but we lost your screen share there. If you're able to reshare your screen.
Yeah. Is it back on?
Yeah, all good.
Right. Sorry, I think that I lost my connection there. So yeah, just to brief it up, at this point of time, we have around 350 forks used by the community, fully open sourced, used by institutions and small projects alike. Now, we'll jump straight into looking what attestation is, and we'll go on to the real world use cases. So at the simplest level, attestation is a claim and assertion that's usually made by one entity against another. It's a cryptographically signed message, and it's usually made by an attester who is a trusted identity. So once the attester have made the claim, you no longer see the evidence, you trust the attester and the claim against it. There are many different types of attestations, and it can be expressed in different ways. But as we move further with our conversation, the key things that you have to take into mind is that attestations are smart contract readable. And when implemented correctly, it can be privacy preserving and can be used to save a lot of transaction costs on the blockchain. Also, attestation is a really flexible technology. It can be expressed in many different formats, can be sent across a simple HTTP request, etc. Now, let us jump straight into the real world use cases. So the first use case that I'll share is around autographing NFT. And as Connor mentioned earlier, we recently launched this project, Alchemy NFT, which is essentially a collection of all the tools and technologies that we have created during our journey to add utility to NFTs and also to manipulate NFTs. And we try to do this all the while maintaining the decentralization of the Web3 technologies, and also being platform agnostic, trying to render and attach these utilities to the NFTs and tokens, regardless which platform or where they are being used. And Autograph NFT is our first product, first proof point. So NFTs, we believe it's a digital object, right? And as mentioned earlier in our chat as well, it can take many different shapes and forms. And we believe that like a real object, real world object, NFTs should also be able to be manipulated. And you should have the right tools to do that. So like any real world object, and the most popular NFTs these days, as you would know, are art, trading cards, avatar projects, etc. Right? You'd be able to add an autograph to these playing cards, etc. in real world. So we are trying to bring very similar experience to the Web3 world, but in this case, we are autographing based on Twitter ID. Let us look how that works. So in this example, you can see that about a month ago, we got Vitalik's signature as one of our first signatures on an NFT. And really, there are different processes that a NFT goes through before a autograph is collected. First of all, an offer is created by the NFT owner, which is then reviewed and executed by the autographer and eventually by the Alchemy NFT smart contracts to create a new remixed NFT. And really what we are trying to show here is also how you can create new synthetic assets, NFTs, derived based on underlying NFTs and combining it with other attributes such as an identity over here. So let's zoom into the offer review process and autograph execution to really see attestation in action. So for this, I'll take you again to another live offer that's out there with Vitalik. So he's a speaker on the ETHCon conference, and we are collecting autographs. We are minting NFTs for every speakers in ETHCon, and we are collecting autographs from all the speakers so that we can display it in a multifunctional hall in crypto voxels. So if anyone is to go to that open request, you will see this page where you will have that option to verify with Twitter. Obviously, if I verify it, I would not be able to sign. But once you click that, it will log you onto Twitter using open authentication protocols, very standard technology. So, and eventually once you are logged in, once you have connected Twitter to our application, you will eventually get to the step where you will be prompted to sign 3 messages. So the very first message will create an attestation. So the very first message is verifying that the Twitter session is still valid, and then creating an attestation saying that the wallet that's used by the user at that point of time is tied to this Twitter ID. So that's the first attestation that we are creating. And then we'll have another signature to create that digital autograph. And finally, we'll push that transaction to the blockchain to trigger the creation of the remixed autograph NFT. Now, in this process, let's really zoom into the Twitter ID attestation, because this is one of the ways we bring Web2 identity to Web3, and that's happening today. And really, this is one flavor of attestation. We call it as Identifier Attestation, and Twitter is just a example here. You can imagine it being connected to any services that has an open authentication or functionality such as Facebook or Google, etc. Or you can even substitute it with the identifiers that you use in real life, where you can collect an OTP and verify yourself. So it can be emails, it can even be phone numbers, etc. Now, this is something that can be instantly be readable by smart contracts, and it can bring Web2 identities to Web3. So that's the very first use case. And this was the latest one that we have done, and it's in a production that's live. Now we will go back to another use case, one of our very early use cases, where we created FIFA ticket NFTs in 2018. Now, here we did that in collaboration with Shanghai Sports, one of the leading sports management companies based in China. And we created 50 tickets for VIPs for the FIFA 2018 event. Now, these NFTs were pre-minted, and then we distributed them to the ticket holders through Magic Links. Now, Magic Link is, again, attestation in a different form. And it's very similar to the link that you see below, but it's an encoded attestation which contains information like the seat number, the event date, venue, the class of the ticket, etc., all expressed as an attestation which comes from the event organizer. Now, we distributed the tickets to the ticket holders by sending a magic link. And essentially, people could click that and claim the tickets, provided that they did that within the expiry time. Okay. And they were also allowed, or they also had the optionality to sell these tickets for a specified amount of money, and also defining when that condition would expire. So again, it would come out as a magic link, and anyone who has access to this magic link will be able to pay that money and claim that ticket as their own. So this is also, you do not have to know the wallet address of the token holder, and you can send it to people using magic links. So in 2018, when we implemented it, we did not have the time to implement Identifier Attestation, but you can easily imagine sending it to an email ID and allowing people to claim it from there. Now, in this use case, the key points to look at is that here we are expressing attestations for different things. In this example, a ticket, and that you can share a attestation as a URL. And final element of that could be of interest is that we are doing a conditional distribution versus payment, which is a very huge use case, especially in an enterprise context. And using attestations, you can enable many different conditions to enable this delivery versus payment. So it's really exciting. And once you have the right smart contracts to support it, it will really enable a lot more advanced use cases. So this is the second example that I wanted to share with you. Now I'll move on to my final example, and this is something that we have developed and implemented. The production implementation is still going on, and that's for Devcorn, the biggest developer conference in the Ethereum community. I even saw that Joe was sporting a Devcorn t-shirt during his chat earlier today. So yes, Devcorn is huge. And Devcorn had a proposal to implement their ticketing solution on blockchain. And guess what? We submitted a proposal to implement an attestation-based ticketing system. And we were selected. And this is the last use case that I would like to share with you guys. So I'll explain it to you on what the use case would be that you would experience if you are going to Devcorn. So once you purchase the ticket, at some point of time, you will get a email confirmation with the QR code and also a ticket magic link, very similar to what I had showed you earlier. The QR code would, the QR code can be used as a normal standard QR code at the gates. There is no change in functionalities there. But this magic link is quite special because once you click that, it will take you to a landing page where the attestation would be generated and stored in the browser's local storage. Now, there is another component that we have developed called Token Negotiator, which is an NPM package. So any websites that has this package will be able to detect these attestations. And if it detects a ticket attestation, it will generate a pop-up, or it will start prompting user to verify themselves. And again, in this case, we distributed the tickets to users without knowing their wallet address. So in order to confirm that a user is a verified ticket holder, you would also need to procure a email attestation. Now, getting email attestation is quite simple. You can request for it from any of the service providers. In this instance, we have stand up a trusted service to demonstrate the use case. And in the future, we imagine that there would be an ecosystem with many trusted attesters. Now, I can go to these attesters and request for a email attestation. And in our existing implementation, we would ask for an OTP and maybe even check for captcha, making sure that it's not a bot. And once that's completed, you would also get a email attestation. Now, with both of them together, you'll be able to prove that you are a verified user. You are an authentic ticket holder, which means that you will then be able to do things on chain, such as voting for the favorite speakers. Or, if you can use these two things to claim off-chain discounts and play at and participate at events, etc. So, and those things can be off-chain as well. So I'll really quickly show you how, what exactly is included in these attestations. So the ticket attestation is generated using the ticket ID, email ID of the purchaser that you would enter as you are purchasing the ticket. And finally, the ticket master key, which is the event holder's private key, which is from Devcorn, and a ticket attestation would be created, which links together your email ID and ticket ID. And for email attestation, it would be linking together your public key at that point of time, and then your email ID, along with the attester's private key, linking together your email ID and public key. So when you put two of them together, what you will get is that you can get a provable link between your ticket ID and your wallet address. Now, you can use this along with a zero knowledge proof. It's completely optional. The challenge is that, or the disadvantage of using ZK proof is that you would have to pay more gas, especially if that transaction is happening on smart contracts. If you do not want to have that additional barrier, you can go away with it, but then the privacy would not be maintained. But that's definitely possible. And for Devcorn, we are not using ZK proofs at this point of time, but definitely possible. Now, that's the three use cases that I wanted to really share with you guys, and really thinking about the future use cases, right? I mean, for any applications that would be bringing real world use cases into blockchain, we would see attestation in action there one way or the other. And immediately, as we were talking about KYC and KYT, etc., attestation could have a role to play there, especially for decentralized identity or self-sovereign identity. Definitely attestations would be playing a massive role there. And something that's more interesting for us at Alphawallet is that attestations can be used to alleviate a lot of pains around key management, as we were thinking about the early majority that's coming in and adopting, right? Really, for the late majority, one of the main barriers to entry is that they would have to get a wallet, maintain their private keys, and if they lose it, they have lost it, right? So for creating a truly non-custodial solution, there are some challenges around with it. But as you have seen earlier with attestations and with identifier attestations, essentially, you can have that liberty of using any wallets at any point of time, as long as you have the right attestation. So we are exploring how we can do away with the wallets altogether, probably spinning up a burner wallet at any point of time you would want to interact with a smart contract. But at the same time, getting to complete those actions based on the attestations and proof that you have. And finally, advanced DVP. This could be something quite interesting as well, because as I've mentioned before, you can do many interesting things. Starting with simple things such as sending tokens to someone just through their email addresses, and that person can later prove that their identity and then claim those tokens. Or even more sophisticated use cases like that, the ones that we are exploring, where you can get an autograph on an NFT that's not even created yet. Because once you have those autographs and the attestations ready, you can go and mint it later on, or creating reverse bidding, right? And I think that for enterprise use cases, with advanced DVP, there can be many sort of different combinations of conditions and attestations that can go in to trigger the delivery and payment in an atomic swap. So, so the possibilities are limitless, and you would definitely be seeing attestations in many different ways. So let us, really build together a robust attestation ecosystem. Now, if you are really interested in it and want to go down the rabbit hole, I would recommend you to check out these links that I have shared there, starting with the token stripped attestation page and going to our community and our GitHub. So yeah, essentially that's what I wanted to say, and I'll take questions now if there are any.
Thanks, Sunil. So we've got one question here from Timothy Coleman. As with CDBCs versus tokens like Bitcoin, do you think that distributed digital identities will win out over government-issued digital IDs? And are you doing any proof of concepts with countries like Estonia, which are leading the way in digital ID?
Right. So really great question, right? And it reminds me of a use case that we had worked on when I was working with the banks. So we really looked at how to implement a self-sovereign identity that can be used between all the major banks here in Australia. And really the challenge was that, at least at that point of time, the self-sovereign identity had to be consumed by many different entities. And in Australia, there are many different entities that are trying to work towards this world, but probably not in a self-sovereign model of a way. But post office and utility companies, etc., are all coming into the picture here. And at that point of time, the challenge that we faced was getting a consensus around, what is this kind of standards that you would use, what kind of assurances that you had across this identity, etc. So what I'm trying to say is that the technology was essentially proved at that point of time, but standardization became a much more bigger issue, at least at that point of time. So it would take a lot of collaboration between all the parties that are involved. So I think that, at some point of time, we would move on to a, distributed or self-sovereign type of an ID model. And this is our thinking so far. But again, many of the things that you see in here, all takes those learnings that we had around establishing such a decentralized identity. Yeah.
Another question also from Timothy: is the autograph stored on the blockchain, like in token URI on the ERC-721, or is it stored separately on something like IPFS?
So the picture, the metadata that you see, the visual picture, that's stored on IPFS, and the hash of the Twitter attestation is stored in blockchain itself. Yeah. So
with this is a question just in terms of the work that you were doing a few years back with respect to the World Cup there, and so were those tickets, were you working with like one of the ticket issuers there, or was it conceptual prototypes? It's, because obviously that was significant innovation that you were doing back then.
Yeah, so we were working with Shanghai Sports. So now Shanghai Sports it is a really interesting company. So they do a lot of different sporting events, etc. But they do have a stream of work where they work closely with VIPs to provide ticketing to them, special experience for them. So these tickets that we issued was with Shanghai Sports for the VIP customers. So that's how they did it, if that answers your question. And it was a ERC-875 token. Yeah. Thank you, Sunil.
That was awesome, and it's really cool to learn so much about what you've been doing with Alphawallet and Alchemy NFT. Yeah, it really is cutting edge stuff that's driving the ecosystem forward.
Thank you, Connor. Thank you so much for the chance. It was really exciting to talk to you guys, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.